Tennessee Republican State Senator Bo Watson was at a hearing on the issue of Volkswagen bringing 200,000 jobs to his state. And the question was whether or not to give a tax credit of $165 million as an incentive to set up shop there. So let's listen to his position on it and pay close attention to this because he makes a curious point.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I hope that the committee will take some time to fully vet this incentive offer. I want the Tennessee taxpayers and their representatives here in Nashville to fully understand the proposal. Like a federal grant, there may be strings attached, and the legislature should go into this with our eyes wide open, understanding the totality of this incentive program, because at the end of the day, we can have no buyer's remorse with this, Mr. Chairman. The incentive, no doubt, will create about 200,000 jobs directly and countless more indirectly. It will give Southeast Tennessee a big foothold in the automotive industry, particularly in research and development, and it will allow the development of a new line of Volkswagen vehicles, particularly the SUV. However, Mr. Chairman and committee members, VW is a magnet for organized labor, intentionally. It is this aspect that, Mr. Chairman, I would like to briefly explore with the committee and with the representatives here of Volkswagen as well as ECD. I believe the committee and this legislature should know and understand exactly what Volkswagen's position is on this issue, both here and in Germany. Mr. Chairman, as you know, the United Auto Workers lost an election at VW in 2014. Disturbingly to me, Mr. Chairman, after that election are quotes that are attributed to a Mr. Potta who sits on the VW board in Germany. And members of the committee, I'm going to quote from an article that was published in Chattanooga. The article read, Potta says the international focus of the Works Council is a model that can only help U.S. workers. And that's why it's so important the union vote in Chattanooga be won. And it will. We did not lose the fight, said Potta. I promise you we will go on. Our dream is stronger than the resistance of our enemies. Volkswagen's investment in Hamilton County in the Chattanooga area has been nothing more than transformational. There is no doubt about that. Our city, our county, the surrounding counties have been incredibly impacted, mostly for the positive. But that transformation can also involve other aspects of our communities and our culture as well.
Do you get what he's saying? He's saying, yeah, 200,000 jobs is nice, but what if they unionize? He went on to abstain from voting, too. Now, is it a legitimate debate to have as to whether or not to give a $165 million tax credit or tax incentive to a company in order for them to bring jobs in? Yes, that's a very legitimate discussion to have. In fact, I might not vote for that as well, and I might say, look, either you want to bring the jobs here or you don't want to bring the jobs here. Don't, shake down the taxpayers to make your decision. So that's a legitimate discussion to have. But the angle that he took is not a legitimate angle by which to disagree from. He's saying, no, the reason why I'm against this is because, God forbid, once you set up shop here, the workers unionize and try to make a decent living. Oh, how crazy are these guys? That's how much these guys represent the bosses and not the workers, not the middle class. And then, of course, what are they going to do? Turn around and run in the elections as if they're looking out for blue-collar workers. How many times have we heard it? Time and time. Ted Cruz just said it the other day. It's the biggest lie in politics that Republicans are the party of the rich. Meh. Is it? Well, what about an example of this right here? This is a perfect example of that. It's empirically true that Republicans are the party of the rich. all their nonsense rhetoric about, well, we want to give you tax cuts. The goddamn Democrats want to raise your taxes, and that's fucked up. That shows that we're the party of the people. We're the populist party. We're the middle class party. Yeah, but then when you look at the details of their budget proposals and their policy proposals, you find out very quickly, oh no, when they say they want to cut taxes, they're talking to their other rich buddies. They're talking to people in the top 5% or the top 1%. They're not talking to you. And again, when I say this, people's minds are blown because they're like, I heard from when I was a kid until now that Republicans are the party of tax cuts. I've heard that my entire life. What, you're just telling me that that's not true and everybody's been wrong? Yes! Because you don't listen to what the idiot pundits say on CNN who don't know their ass from their elbow. Look it up yourself. Look at the policy proposals. I always bring up this article. It was in CNN Money during the 2008 election where it showed you a detailed breakdown, President Obama's tax proposal versus John McCain's. And remember, the entire campaign, I want to cut taxes. He wants to raise your taxes. They broke it down. President Obama gave a bigger tax cut to 90% of the American people. John McCain only cut taxes more for the top 10%. What does that tell you right there? Now, I'm not a math genius, but if one party wants to give a tax cut to 90% of the American people, and the other one only wants to give it to the richest 10%, who's more the party of tax cuts? The party that wants to give it to 90%. President Obama cut small business taxes over a dozen times. Does he get credit for it from Republicans? Oh, we like tax cuts. You did tax cuts. Great. No, they don't say that. Why? Because that's not the tax cuts they like. They don't like small business tax cuts. They don't like middle-class tax cuts. The Democrats just proposed a budget recently which cut taxes even more for the middle class. The Republicans blocked it. So this idea that like, oh no, believe me, the Republicans are on the side of the middle class and the blue-collar workers. Here's a perfect example of how they're not. The guy's saying, I don't want 200,000 jobs to come to Tennessee because they might unionize when they get here and make a decent wage. And spare me for everybody who thinks like, well, the unions aren't good for the workers neither, man. If you believe that, you're just not versed in the empirical data on this. Because, for example, there was a study that we covered from about a year ago, which found that all the so-called right-to-work states, which have much less unionization and make it so people can opt out much easier, the workers there make $1,500 less on average per year. So it's a fact that in non-unionized states and so-called right-to-work states, what it really is a right-to-work for less state. So you're shooting yourself in the foot if you're a middle-class worker and you support these Republican policies, which are anti-union. And again, I don't know how much evidence I can give you, but here's more evidence right now that they're not on your side.